welcome back to Horror Score. We're your hosts, Jesse and
Vanessa.
And this week's episode is
Saint. Or Zint.
Or
however you want to pronounce this movie that was made in Amsterdam.
Saint Nick was like another title. It was really hard pinning down exactly what the right one was.
A lot of alternate posters, a lot of alternate titles.
Yeah. We don't own the movie. So this is one. Did we watch this on Shudder?
Amazon.
This was Amazon Prime? Okay. Was it part of the free streaming or did we have to buy this one?
I think we rented it.
If we did rent it, it was $2.99 because I do have a $2.99 charge on my my PayPal and I didn't know what it was from. So
we don't actually.
What?
It was $3.99 and I signed into my Amazon so that we would watch it because you were complaining about spending money on it.
I was Christmas. Listen, I've been buying a lot of Christmas presents for people. Money's been tight. You know, I go all out for Christmas. As you can see, we have gone all out this episode. Looks like you're wearing a Pusheen Christmas sweater.
She is the gift that keeps on giving. So.
And I've been officially won over by Pusheen. I think that she is wonderful.
Oh.
I too am dressed up for Christmas.
Yeah, what is that?
I'm trying to hide it with this
Wars?
vest and this. It is a very tight large. I didn't try it on until just now, but it is a. We can't even see it here. We've got Darth Vader wearing a Christmas hat. It was in the men's section, and it said large.
A child's large, like for us.
But this was so tight. I was feeling good about myself. I only shop for larges now. I've lost like 55 pounds, and I was like, a large? This is definitely going to fit. And I just tried to put it on. Hurt my feelings. It was like... Anyway.
It's for a husky child. It was in the wrong section.
This is like our warm-up Christmas episode. It's a little decorated. We're going to go much more all-out next episode for the even more Christmas Horror Score episode. But this is like a practice. I am ready to dive into this movie unless there's anything you want to talk about first.
No, let's just do it.
All right.
I think some things will come up organically.
Yeah, well, okay, so this movie, Saint, or Zint, it's got a Santa Claus in it. Now, apparently most people are pretty safe. Like, hopefully you've seen Krampus, where he could show up any year and get you. But this evil bishop Santa Claus only comes out, what is it? If it's December 5th?
It's on December 5th, because in this folklore, December 5th was the day that St. Nicholas died, and he was murdered, and he was burned to death. So he comes back, and everybody goes, do you smell a fire? And then you just get your head lopped off.
Or shoveled off.
Or everybody's mid-sentence. That's my favorite. There are so many mid-talking deaths.
There are a lot of good deaths. But he doesn't come out on December 5th unless it's also a full moon. So you've got 36 years, or you've got some long 32 years maybe. It's a bunch of time. So the times that he attacks to kidnap and murder children is very spaced out.
So you might be a fan of some other movies that take place in Amsterdam, like the film Amsterdam. The director of this movie is also Dick Maas, like the director of Amsterdam.
And I think those are the only two movies I can name that he has done.
He did make a song for this.
He did?
He likes to make music for his movies.
I was unaware. Let's score this movie. Are we in story yet? Let's get into... Yeah, we're kind of in story on accident. Yeah, so
we started talking about the folklore and everything.
Yeah, okay.
I'll give you my score.
Yeah, let's talk about your score.
I gave it a 10 because I love me some folklore, especially something that is as traditional as something like Christmas. I like when there is a story behind it, and why would Santa be evil? Because he was murdered. Great. I'm there. I'm game.
All right.
Well, I gave it 10.
I was pretty close to where you landed. I gave it an 11. And it was the parts of the movie that I didn't like was the dialogue between some of the characters, but then again, maybe they were just written to be talking
It's dubbed too.
Yeah, it was. Yes,
So.
it was also dubbed, and I feel like the voice actors didn't do the actors justice.
Yeah.
Like during some energetic scenes, it felt like someone was reading lines. Like I didn't get the sense that like this person is running, yelling to someone. I could really tell, besides that the fact that their lips didn't line up, that they were like stationary, just like kind of yelling some lines. So that kind of took me out a little bit, but I gave it an 11. For me, the most, I guess, the biggest category that I wanted to talk about is villain. All right, start us off.
I gave villain 12. He is brutal. Like I said, he smells like fire because he's burned to death. That's such a cruel thing to add in there. Like, oh, this guy's already been burned to death, and now people are like, it's just rude. But he has a great weapon.
Yes.
Was it like
a glaive of some
it's
sort,
like
a halberd.
But it's beautiful and it's ornate and it's very detailed. And this Saint Nick reminded me of just like a really tall leprechaun from the Leprechaun franchise. Except Santa comes with an undead horse. So.
I loved the undead horse. That's what I wrote down. The staff and the undead horse were, I think, the two coolest things about this version of Santa Claus, or Saint Nick. He's never called Santa Claus in this, right? I think he's always referred to as Saint Nick. Sinterklaas or whatnot. All right. Well, I liked those two things that we mentioned about him, but I'll tell you what I don't like in a Santa Claus. When he's a skinny guy with no beard, that really takes me out. So yeah, I get it. Right? He's burned in a fire. He can't have this big giant beard. I guess he can, right? I mean, he's back to life anyway. It's this magical revenant who's back and he's evil. But when you take Santa Claus and you make him skinny and you take away the beard, I'm really out of it. I'm like, he's not really Santa Claus. I'm not sure. Who was a good Santa Claus? And this is going to sound weird, but I was even okay with Bill Goldberg as Santa Claus in Santa's Sleigh. I'm okay with like a demon Santa Claus, like in Krampus, or, oh my God, Rare Exports is a really cool, weird Santa Claus, but I couldn't get behind this Kris Kringle evil bishop Santa Claus. Like he was fine as his own thing. I gave him a 10. He had a lot of pros, but then he had all these cons that pulled him back down to a 10.
Nobody come and try to take any of Jesse's traditions away, like having a round Santa Claus. You sound like one of those, like, middle-aged, like, well, when I was a kid, we played outside and listened to music.
I'm sorry that I really, give me a Norman Rockwell Santa Claus. I'll take a Coca-Cola Santa Claus. But yeah, I'm not too up for, Santa Claus I hate? The Nightmare Before Christmas Santa Claus. Hate him. I don't know why. Ever since I was a kid, I saw him and I was like, ugh, I hate that Santa Claus.
What my favorite Santa is?
Yeah, what's your favorite Santa Claus?
Okay, well, he hasn't seen this movie yet, but in the Puppet, The Year Without a Santa Claus, it was voiced by Mickey Rooney, and he was the absolute, hands down, best underappreciated Santa of all time. Literally, the movie is about an underappreciated Santa, but also he every time I think of Santa Claus, I think of Mickey Rooney's voice. And I kept almost saying Mickey Rourke there, which would have been
I would love to see Mickey Rourke as a Santa Claus.
Really weird Santa, but no way.
All right. Well, for me, I think the best category in this movie was horror.
Leave it to Dick Maas.
Yeah, that was something where the movie did deliver. Because this movie is sort of a police procedural.
He loves that.
Yeah.
Dick Maas loves that stuff.
Like, a third of the movie, like, it's back at police headquarters, and they're kind of talking about the crime scenes, and, it'll jump around from there. But in this police procedural, there are scenes where we do get just these massive multiple deaths at once. As Vanessa mentioned earlier, heads fly off from here. Lots of knives through the back of the head, out the mouth. People trampled by. the nightmare steed. There's a really good chase scene. So even though there's some dry police procedural moments, I gave horror a 13. Where did you land?
I also gave horror a 13.
All right.
Because of those great talking kills that I mentioned earlier, where it's just like mid-sentence stuff. Did you remember the boat scene?
Yeah.
Do you remember when like it just suddenly turns into kind of like a boat chase, but then there's like the boat is like moving really slow through some eerie, foggy, like shipwreck water. And
the atmosphere was good in that scene.
So yeah, like the horror became really different in that scene, but just also very well done. So I like that it changed scene. And of course, being in Amsterdam, you've got to do some sort of water scene because there's 98% water there.
So our next category here on horror score is effects. So I guess I'll take us into effects. I feel like this movie, even though you could tell it was not a lot of practical effects, in this movie walks the line of using good CGI most of the time. Like you can tell it's not real, but some of it's so fast where you're like, all right, okay, that was good. That wasn't bad. It'll bounce back and forth like the Matrix, where sometimes something will look excellent, like the horse jumping from rooftop to, oh, from that angle, it looked kind of weird. But with the setting, with their unique take on Santa Claus, his nightmarish horse, his cool staff, I gave this category 13 points as well.
Well, this movie did come out like almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah,
so
but I mean, Jurassic Park came out how long ago? And those dinosaurs were like practically.
Okay, well, this is a Dick Maas budget and not a Jurassic Park budget, so we're just going to keep that in mind.
Okay.
So I gave effects a 12 because I said I think they had a good budget based on what I was looking at and like what you were saying with the CGI. But also kind of going back into that atmosphere stuff, like it was a great Christmas town.
Yes.
And there was some great Christmas music. Like the score did a really good job of walking the horror Christmas line and not being like super cheesy. So.
Well, then only one category remains for us to go over. Vanessa, would you take us into the S Factor category where, much like in Doomsday Preppers, we can award up to 20... I haven't said it in a while. We can award up to 20 points for whatever reasons we want to. And it's called S Factor. In case you're sort of new to this show, we have Jesse, Nessa, and there's an E and an SS in both of our names. So it's S Factor. That's where that comes from. In case you're wondering, like, what the heck is S Factor? We're lame. We're lame, and that's where that came from.
You're lame.
I'm lame.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm cool with you. My blue hat. I gave S Factor 9 points.
All right.
And you probably imagined that it would be higher, right? Because it was until Black Peter came on the screen. So totally unbeknownst to me prior to watching this movie.
Me
so
too.
I had to do some research because I was just shocked. But in 1850, an Amsterdam school teacher wrote a Christmas book and gave Saint Nick a sidekick named Black Peter. Peter was black in the book, and there's this really fun tradition in the Low Countries now where, let's just say Amsterdam's population is like 99% white. People put on blackface around Christmas time to dress up as one of Santa's companions, right? And that's still a thing that people do there. They put on blackface. And so this is a big social issue even today because half the country's like, oh, our traditions.
I'm glad that they're fighting it right now because
then the other half of the country's like, you don't see why this is wrong. So. Well,
I guess the neo-Nazis are saying we need to keep this tradition, and like you were saying,
what if you were on the side of the neo-Nazis, like you're probably wrong. It's probably a really bad thing that they want to have happen, and it is.
Well, I ended up with an 8, and again, would have been higher. There's some good cinematography. There's some really cool transitions in this movie. Music is good. But at the end of the day, I was like, what do I want to add extra points for?
Sometimes you just can't go looking. You can't just go looking for things that you can award points to.
So we're going to take a quick break and cut over to Vanessa's one-sentence synopsis before we total up our scores.
Okay. Funky Cat, please stop. Stop the music. I think now is a good time to stop the one-sentence synopsis and start with, and another thing with Vanessa. Let's be real. Saint opened up this whole new political thing that unbeknownst to Vanessa, existed, called Zwarte Piet, Black Peter. Yeah. So here's the thing. Essayists like David Sedaris, and even just celebrities, bubbleheads like Russell Brand and Kim Kardashian, have spoken out against how horrific this tradition of Black Peter or Zwarte Piet is, and we're still doing it. I'm confused as to why that's still happening. But also, Facebook decided back in August of 2020 to eliminate any depictions of blackface on their social media platform, which includes the entire tradition of Zwarte Piet. And are we not even just like ahead of Facebook and Kim Kardashian yet? Because it just seems weird. So let's just stop doing. Can we just stop doing blackface? It'd be really cool. It's like 1850s, guys. Okay, thanks.
Okay, and we're back. So that gives me a combined score of 54 horror score points.
And it got 56 out of me, which makes our combined average a 55. We were pretty close.
That math was easy. I did that in my head right away. Yeah.
You're so talented.
Thank you. Just a couple last minute things. We'd like to remind you that we do have an email address. We can be reached at horrorscorereview@gmail.com. And we have only gotten 4 emails so far, and one of them was spam. Now, I know at the time of filming this, only 2 episodes have had our email address on it because there's like a backlog. But do we have a Twitter?
We do have a Twitter, and it is @scorehorror. And we don't have any spam, and we got a reply from the director of Z, and also the main actress in Z. And the director of Killer Sofa.
Yeah. I mean, if you have any reason to contact us, this is a hobby, and we enjoy just hearing from people, especially that we don't know.
Especially people who agree with me. I like that a lot.
And lastly, if you're looking for more horror content, and if you've got to drive around and you're into podcasts, you might want to check out Make Me Shudder. It's available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, where Jay and Shane are going through every movie on the Shudder streaming service. And I believe at the time of recording, they're just getting into the letter C. So you got plenty of time to get caught up. But that's a lot of movies between the numbers and C already. So I guess that's all we have for you. We'll see you again next week with a even more Christmassy episode.
Stay spooky.